Hi fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. I'm Marissa, and today I am here with a springtime TBR. It is March 21st, aka first day of spring, and it does not really feel like spring for me today because it is snowing. It is snowing a lot. It is predicted to snow 12 to 16 inches today, which is why I'm home and filming this in the hopes that spring will finally come. I rarely do TBRs, which is something you know if you watch my channel for a long time. The reason for this is because I rarely actually stick to my TBRs. My reading tends to be incredibly spontaneous and mostly fueled by my library and what I just feel like in the moment. But I've realized that I have not been reading anything from my shelves. So I took the time to look at my shelves and see what seems appropriate for springtime to me, and hopefully I will read at least one or two of these books this spring. So the first book I'd like to talk to you guys about is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier about a year ago at this point, and I absolutely loved it. Her writing is exquisite, and I'm actually shocked that I haven't picked up another one of her books since then. This cover just screamed springtime to me with its green background and its flowy font and its just nature inspired design. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. As far as I know, this book is about a mysterious murder and an inheritance, and where that inheritance will go once this murder has taken place. So intriguing plot, lovely cover, and I hope it's as springy as it appears. The next book I want to talk to you about is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. Now, I have not read any Kazuo Ishiguro, and I think that that is a travesty considering he recently won the Nobel Prize in Literature. I've heard that this book is a great place to start and perhaps people's favorites, although Remains of the Day is very high on many people's lists as well. I'm actually not quite sure what this book is about, and I would like to keep it that way. I heard that it is best to go into this book unaware of the plot and just looking forward to reading an Ishiguro. So that is exactly what I plan to do, hopefully. This book has been on my radar for a very long time, and whether it is springy or not, I'd like to get around to it at some point in the near future, so it really stood out to me on my shelves. The next book I want to share with you from my shelf is Mr. Rosen Plums' List, or Friendly Guidance for the Aspiring Englishman, a novel by Natasha Solomons. Now, this book I believe has a different title in other countries. And if this book looks familiar, it may be because you watch Words of a Reader. She has this book featured in her opening sequence, and it is because it's one of her favorite books of all time. The cover just screams spring to me, and the back features just this light, airy vibe. It's about a man who is making a list to become a very English gentleman. So it seems like a very light kind of book that would be perfect for springtime. The next book doesn't seem particularly springy, but there is a read-along being hosted in April of this book, and that is Poor Things by Alistair Gray. Now, Jen Campbell is hosting this read-along, or rather, I think we're supposed to be reading it in February and March, and then she's filming a video in April all about her experiences reading it and annotating it, and I am very interested in annotations, especially from Jen Campbell, because she has such interesting thoughts, at least in her poetry series. So I'd love to read one of her favorite books and hear what she has to say about it, which means I actually have to pick it up. So I know that it's a Frankenstein retelling, or is highly inspired by Frankenstein, which is a book that I have read and studied in school, and so I think this book would be very, very interesting. The next book on this list is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winifred Watson. This book seems like a light, airy read, and for some reason that is what I gravitate towards in the springtime. This is about a middle-aged governess who works for a nightclub singer, and I don't know more than that. but I'm excited to read it. Next up is Madeleine L'Engle's A Circle of Quiet. This is the first of a 3-part journal series that Madeleine L'Engle wrote. This I have mentioned in a previous video where I found it in a secondhand bookshop near me that I absolutely love, and I was shocked to find when I looked on the inside cover that it is actually signed by Madeleine L'Engle herself. I'm interested in reading more by Madeleine L'Engle since I believe I read A Wrinkle in Time when I was younger, although I haven't seen the movie yet. I know there's a recent movie that just kind of came out. There's one quote on the back of this book, and it says, "My favorite of all Madeleine L'Engle's books, lovely, charming, a book to cherish. I know it will give great consolation to ordinary people who sometimes wonder why they bother to get out of bed in the morning." And so that to me just screams new beginnings, springtime, inspiration, and I would like to have some of that right now, especially with the weather and the way winter seems to just drag on forever. The last book on this list is one that you've probably all heard of before. It's been going around BookTube quite a bit, and that is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. This book was an impulse buy for me a while ago, but I haven't read it yet. I bought it brand new, which is incredibly rare for me, and it's partially because of the cover, partially because of the premise. It takes place in Victorian London, which greatly appeals to me, but also features an Essex Serpent, this mythical kind of Nessie creature, and I'm really excited to read about it. That's kind of all I know about the plot premise. Plenty of people have reviewed it if you want to hear a little more detail about its plot or about the book itself, but I feel like spring is just the perfect time to read historical fiction and to read more contemporary works, and so this one greatly appeals to me. Now, I actually have a bunch of other books on my shelf, contemporary books that take place in Victorian times, and I feel like perhaps I should make a video on that as well. Let me know if you want to hear about that, about those books in the comments down below, because I feel like spring is a great time to read them. So yes, those are all of the books I hope to read in spring. It seems like in spring I gravitate towards contemporary literature, lighter literature, things of that nature. What do you guys gravitate to during spring? Are there certain books that you are much more likely to pick up in the springtime as opposed to the wintertime? Do you have any books you're particularly looking forward to this spring? I'd love to hear in the comments down below. And I look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Bye!
Underneath the cupboard lives a mouse, and he discovered there was nothing there. Nothing there.